Sarah has been telling him for years that she's unhappy. I mean, in therapy, over dinner, late at night, through tears after the kids have gone to bed. She has shown him every sign possible that their marriage is just over. She hasn't used the word divorce yet, though, but she really feels like she's told him every way possible that this is over. But somehow he still doesn't get it at all. He doesn't know. And he just wakes up every morning, he pours his coffee, he says, "Good morning, honey." And he thinks everything is normal and he just thinks it's all basically fine. But it's not. And she has tried so hard to let him know that it's not fine. And if this all sounds familiar to you, you're really not crazy. I mean, this is a real thing. You're not imagining things. And you're not alone because this is one of the most common patterns I see as a divorce attorney, especially out here in Seattle with a lot of tech husbands. It is really important that you understand this pattern because naming it actually really matters. Because if you don't know what in the world you're dealing with, it's hard to know how to respond to it. So let's talk about what the pattern is. Sometimes she might have noticed this. This could be 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. I mean, some people stay in this for a long, long time. And she does what typical women do. We ask to go to therapy, we ask to talk about it. We'll send these long emails, trying to explain exactly how we're feeling, what is going on. And we really think, well, of course they're going to understand this and they're going to, try to make things better. And we try to bring it up really gently at first because you know how we are. We tend to like walk around on eggshells. And so we try to do that. And then we bring it up less and less gently as time goes on, especially if you've been dealing with this for 5 years. I mean, you really get where you're kind of over it. You book the couples therapist. I mean, you do all the research around couples therapy and you think, okay, we're going to go to the Gottman's, marriage program. It's going to be great and it's going to get better. And so it doesn't get better though. Sometimes he'll listen and he'll pick up on one or two things and he'll apologize, maybe start doing things a little bit different as they go along. And sometimes even for a couple of weeks, things will look different. And then all of a sudden, things go back. Life kind of takes over. Things just kind of go back to normal. Maybe he has a big project at work or a deadline or something. And then all of a sudden, you're back in the same situation. So what do? You try again. So you start with your whole process again. You'll send an email, you'll try to bring it up, you'll be gentle, and you'll think to yourself, well, I don't really mean to nag him about this. Like, I'm not trying to be super difficult, but you're wanting to get this across that you're having this problem and that things are really not going well. And one of the things that I think we women forget, I mean, here we are doing all this work around maintaining the relationship, like actually having the tough conversations. And that makes it really hard because you feel like you're not getting met where you are. The person isn't coming to you and they're not saying, "Oh, I see this. Like, I see this pattern, what I did, and I get it. You brought it up before, you brought it up before and before and before, but I didn't see it." And so I have to tell you that the thing right now it is important for you to know is this is not a you thing. Like, this is not some kind of big character flaw in you. It's a pattern. And the pattern is there for a reason. And so it's important for you to understand why the pattern is there and how it exists. And I see this fairly constantly, I have to tell you, in Seattle. I mean, Seattle, is a big tech area. We have a lot of men, stereotypically. Obviously, there's women in tech too, but a lot of husbands, work in some of the big tech companies, and they are really genuinely brilliant people. They do great in their work. They lead teams. I mean, they actually do really well. And so it's this really interesting thing because, I mean, this might be a husband who gets up early, he goes to work, he's really working really hard, he's getting raises, promotions, like things are going well at work. But when he comes home, he's kind of exhausted. He has been dealing with problems all day long. He might come home late. He misses dinners, kid activities. I mean, it's a tough work. I don't mean to diminish the work that people are doing because it is tough work. And he really, though, stopped kind of looking closely into the marriage probably a long time ago. And I really try to not blame the actual person. I really believe the tech culture does not help this. It really makes it worse. The men who kind of thrive in this culture, they are trained to just solve the problems they can and to kind of push past those problems that they cannot solve or optimize for. And the relationships are messy. They don't always respond to logic when there's no clear deliverable, no metrics, no dashboard. I mean, there's no way for them to even know if they're winning. And a lot of times these people are not super thrilled at the idea of like therapy, because sometimes that can feel like they're being attacked. And at work, they feel very, very competent. They know the rules. Whereas at home, it's kind of like the rules are softer and they're a little more uncomfortable. And so over time, they kind of start to tune it out because they literally are like, I do not know what you need. Like, they're thinking, I'm over here, I'm working, I'm doing well, I'm bringing in the money. Like, what are you talking about? I do not understand all these things you keep telling me. And so you, though, are sitting over there and you are drowning. I mean, you are drowning. And he might be nodding along, like, okay, I understand you're feeling stressed. The thing, though, that has kind of created this huge gap between you is all the things that you are carrying that I want you to understand, because it explains something that is about this pattern and that you will see not only in this video, but in future videos. Because while he started tuning all things out, you were doing everything else. And so maybe you're a stay-at-home mom. Let's just pretend you're a stay-at-home mom. So your division of labor in your home is such that he is doing the work, he is bringing home the money, he is supporting the family, and you are taking care of the home, the family, the children. So that means you're dealing with the kids' schedules, the pediatrician appointments, the school forms, the birthday parties, the teacher gifts, the grocery runs, the dinners, the homework, the social calendar, the family visits, the card for his mother's birthday, all the kids' stuff that they're dealing with. So when Susie Q comes up and tells you her best friend was mean to her today and she's never going to be able to go eat in the cafeteria again because this girl was mean, I mean, you've got to deal with all that. And so it's really all of it is on you, all of that. And on top of all that, you've been trying to manage the marriage, trying to schedule the therapy appointments, have the conversations, kind of track how he's doing. Like, so when he comes home, you're gauging, like, was this a bad day? Should maybe we not talk about anything today because he's coming in pretty hot? Or are you there noticing the disconnection constantly where it's like, we're just not even a couple anymore? You just don't even think about working together as a team. And so you were doing all that invisible labor. And many of us have read, there's a book out there named Fair Play by Eve Rodsky that really sets out a lot of this invisible labor. So I really encourage you to read that because it will help you understand this gap between the two of you. And this gap is made so much worse if you too are a working parent. So let's assume you're not a stay-at-home mom. You are a full-time worker. I mean, you could be a lawyer. I mean, so you're doing your entire job and you're doing all this stuff with the family, the kids, maintaining all the social interaction. And then your husband is working and this disconnection is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. The thing is the moment you stop paying attention to all this and you stop wanting to maintain the marriage, it is that point in time that it's done. I mean, it's over. And what is interesting is that is not the point in time usually where you call a divorce attorney. That is not the point in time where you're filing. It's often way before this. And so this is why so many men usually are so surprised by this, because they did not realize when their wife stopped maintaining the relationship and stopped navigating all these things. At some point in time, you have just stopped. You have just checked out and you thought to yourself, I don't care. You come and go as you please. You come late. You be mad, whatever. Like, I'm just not dealing with it anymore. And so this is when the marriage is really over. I actually refer to this as the leaver and the left behind. So you at that point are the leaver. I mean, you have gone. You are emotionally checked out from this thing. And a lot of women will actually remember the exact time it happens. I mean, it's really interesting. Like if you talk to them later, they will be able to tell you, oh, yeah, like, my son had an emergency medical situation and my husband didn't bother to show up. Like he just wasn't even going to come. And so at that point, the woman realizes, like, oh, we're done. This is over. Like this disconnection has gone too far. And so at that moment, you just stop trying. You just have written off the entire relationship. And so sometimes women will get like almost like a second win, and they'll think to themselves, okay, let me try again. Maybe they're going to do it for 6 months, a year. They're going to see what they can do. But often it's too late. And really, the walls have been built up, and it's really a difficult time to come back and be able to revitalize things, especially if your partner is still in that situation where they are not paying attention and they're not willing to do the work. And so, really, by the time this spouse has called an attorney, so by the time I talk to them, they have been living with this decision for a long time. And it is so interesting because he has not been living with this decision for a long time. That is why what happens next is so disorienting, and why it's really disorienting for both of you. Because when you finally drop the word divorce, all of a sudden the reaction is the same. I mean, I have heard it on the other side, when men call me and they'll literally tell me, I had no idea she wanted a divorce. I was blindsided by this. And often I think to myself, really? Blindsided? And then when I start digging in, they've gone to therapy multiple times. This has been an ongoing thing. But he was really blindsided, genuinely, not performatively. I mean, he was devastated in a way that feels kind of disproportionate because she's been telling him this over the years. A lot of times this will evoke, I mean, major tears and hysteria and like, let me try again. What can I do to help? Like I can do better. And literally the other person, the wife in our story, she literally wants to throw something because she's been telling him this for years. And she's thinking, oh my gosh, how is it you are telling me you are blindsided? Like it literally feels like they were not even communicating in the same language. And the thing is, his shock is genuine. It's really genuine. And that is important to understand. He is not pretending not to see it. He genuinely did not see it. And the things that were feeling like alarm bells to her barely even registered to him. So that is why they have such a different experience in the marriage. And so that is why understanding his shock is real. But it doesn't mean you have to continue to manage it. It just means that you need to stop being confused by it, because this is where it gets really hard. And I hear this a lot. You're watching him show up now. Now, finally, all of a sudden, he's like, well, what can I do to help? And he's out there taking initiative, and he's like, offering to take the kids to their appointments, pick them up from their extracurriculars. And he'll say things like, well, if I had known, I would have changed. And he'll ask for another chance. And I mean, he might even do some of the real stuff, like throw himself into therapy, read the books. He'll start reading the emails you sent him before and be like, oh, yeah, you're right. And all of a sudden, then there you are in this situation. And now you feel so guilty because you're like, oh my gosh, here he is trying to do the things that I've been talking about all this time. Like, shouldn't I give him another chance? I mean, doesn't this make sense that I would, let him try to do this because this is what I was asking for all along? And really, this is what I tell women in this situation. His waking up now is not evidence that the marriage was fixable. It's evidence that the threat of losing you is the only thing that finally got through to him. And that is a painful truth, but it is still true. And so you are not obligated to like start all over and, go back to year one when you started talking about all this. I mean, you have already done all that work. And so a lot of times when you've been carrying this alone for so long, you haven't been heard. And it has been this version of you who desperately wanted him to wake up. Now it is not the same version because now you are kind of moved on. His grief is real and your clarity is real. And both of those can be true at the same time. And that is probably the thing that is the hardest thing for couples to understand on both sides, because he needs to get his head around that she has been telling him this for years and that she has just checked out. And then she needs to understand that his shock is actually real and that he is now actually stepping up and trying. And this is so hard to navigate. And if this is you and this hits home, I want you to watch the next video in this series because it covers what's happening on the other side of this. And it's going to impact what are you going to do next? How are you going to handle this? Because understanding this dynamic really will help you navigate the steps you take moving forward in your divorce, how you handle those, how you react to things. And if you're dealing with this right now today and you need to talk to someone, the contact information for our firm is in the description. You can reach out, schedule a consult, and that is the best way for us to be able to help you in the moment.